Okay, what is up, guys? I'm super psyched. This is the 2023 Jeep Gladiator Rubicon 4x4. It is a Jeep with a pickup bed, and we're going to talk all about it on today's episode. Big thank you first to Morehart Murphy, the dealership who provided this Gladiator for the video today. This is their Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram dealer with a Gladiator for every day of the week. Right across the street, they've got Chevrolet, and then Morehart Murphy Subaru also here in Durango, Colorado, where I've gotten parts and service for my Crosstrek. I'll put a link to their website in the video description. So first off, I thought it was kind of funny when I was setting this video up with the dealer. They were like, sure, get whatever you need, just don't disassemble the car, please. So you can see we still have removable doors on this Gladiator. Removable hardtop as well, and then there's even hinges here to fold down the windshield. So I would just say that I applaud Jeep for that commitment to the doors off driving experience and the straightforward styling. So continuing that Jeep styling tradition, up front we have the round headlamps and the 7-slot grille. You can forgive my ignorance. I hope I just wasted a few minutes on the inside trying to find a release latch for the hood. There isn't one because you just have these external hinges right here and here, a secondary release, and you're up. Inside we have this 3.6 liter Pentastar V6. Now the Pentastar name comes from a trademark that Chrysler has held since the 60s, and it's for their original Chrysler logo, which they called the Pentastar, which to me is evocative of my youth and my mother's town and country van. Anyways, like I said, 3.6 liter Pentastar gasoline V6. There's also a diesel engine available with the Gladiator. This V6 is mounted to an 8-speed automatic transmission. There's also a manual available. The V6 we have here is making 285 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque. Right, so we can't talk about the Gladiator without talking about chassis and suspension. So the Gladiator is a body-on-frame vehicle. We've all heard that, but what does it mean? It means your engine, drivetrain, suspension, steering, wheels, brakes, tires are all mounted to the chassis, and then a body is dropped on top.
Just making sure. Yep.
As you might imagine, we have solid axles front and rear, and then a 5-link suspension. Among other things, one of the advantages of a multi-link suspension setup like we have here versus something like a double wishbone is that a multi-link suspension allows for maximum articulation like you would want with a Jeep. Electronic locking differentials in the front and the rear. When a differential is open, that allows for the wheels to rotate at different speeds as they will, say, around a corner. And that contributes to the drivability of the car on road. In an off-road situation with an open diff, that could mean that all of the available torque is being sent to a wheel that's in the air, which is obviously a low traction wheel. So with the differential locked, 100% of the available torque is sent to both wheels. So in that one wheel in the air situation, the other wheel on the ground with traction will receive torque. The Gladiator also has a disconnecting sway bar. So in on-road driving, the sway bar is designed to keep the wheels level and increase your cornering ability. But off-road, disconnecting that sway bar will allow for increased articulation. So these three things, the multi-link suspension, electronic locking differentials, and a disconnectable sway bar mean that the Gladiator should have decent on-road driving dynamics, but also maximum off-road ability. What that means for the customer is that you can still have the Gladiator and Wrangler and never take it off-road, and it'll still drive pretty good. So while we're down on the ground here, we can also talk about the wheel and tire combination, which I love. 17 by 7.5-inch wheels with 33-inch tires. These are Falcon Wild Peaks. An approach angle of 44.7 degrees up front, and obviously that's part of the beauty of the Jeep, is that you have basically no front overhang. The Gladiator Rubicon also has 11.6 inches of ground clearance. Just as a point of reference, my Subaru, most Subarus are 8.7. 11.6 is a lot. The spec sheet also mentions 31.5 inches of water fording ability. That's something I would love to see you try. If you have, please let me know. And a departure angle of 26 degrees in the rear. Now, I don't know offhand what the departure angle is on the Wrangler. You can assume that it's better than it is here on the Gladiator because obviously we have a bed, and a lot of your departure angle is dependent on your front and rear overhang. So if you can excuse the dirt that is now on my shirt, I was just laying on the ground checking out the skid plate. So we have a skid plate. We have a skid plate here up in front, looks super substantial. There's another one really small down in the middle for the transfer case, and then another skid plate for the fuel tank, which is offset over on this side. So onto the rear of the Gladiator, which of course is where the bed is, which is what separates it from your normal Wrangler. 4 tie-down locations, and then 1 light on each side of the bed. On the side of the bed, we have 419 heart. 419 is the Toledo, Ohio area code, which is where the Gladiator was assembled. Toledo, Ohio, also way back in the day, is the headquarters of Willys Overland, who received the contract to produce the Willys MB for the U.S. military in 1941. Now, I hadn't mentioned the paint color yet, but this paint color is called High Velocity, and it's a new color for Jeep for 2023. Speaking of the paint color, can I also just point out that yellow has a reputation for being beloved by insects. I think there's a Porsche color called Fly Yellow. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you can see we have 2 flies right here. Something to keep in mind, maybe. Chevy Astro all-wheel drive. Onto the interior of the Gladiator, which I would say overall is pretty straightforward and about what you should expect from a Jeep. The seats in this Rubicon are pretty basic, although I will say the driver's seat has a manual adjustable lumbar, which I really like. Overall, my favorite part of the interior is the layout and features in the center here. So window controls as well as the child safety lock for the windows are all right here in the middle. Underneath this media panel, we have your aux, a USB-C, and a USB. I like that. 4 programmable auxiliary buttons if you'd like to install auxiliary lights. You have an off-road plus mode. Here you have the button, like I was mentioning before, for your disconnectable sway bar. Your switch here for locking the front and rear differential, finished in red, which does a nice job of conveying the magnitude of the moment. 12-volt DC port, popularly known as the cigarette lighter. So that was when you had a removable deal that actually, so just have to actually stick your cigarette inside. Let me know in the comments. Traction control. Chunky buttons for volume, climate control, and radio tuning or scrolling. I love that. They feel pretty nice actually. Seat warmers, I was enjoying those earlier. Prindle for the 8-speed automatic transmission with a selectable manual mode, and then this is for your transfer case. 2 high for everyday / highway driving, 4 high, neutral, and a 4 low. Center console here, pretty straightforward, but with this secondary storage. And there's a sort of camo print in some of the plastic here, as well as in the center console there, which I'm a fan of. And inside here you have another USB port. Like I said before, I was specifically asked not to disassemble the car, so I won't, but here you can see your latches and deal to take the roof off, which I think is pretty cool. That would be perfect for today. Would I like to take it off-road if I could? Yes, of course. I would love to make that video. I'm literally going to Moab tomorrow in my Subaru, and if you think I wouldn't rather take this, you're wrong. 5,400 degrees Kelvin, just a guess. And then you have a physical cable actuated handbrake, which I think is great for a car intended to go off-road, and you also have 2 high available. So that combination of 2 high and a physical handbrake. I will say I am 6'1", and it is interesting to me that the top of my head is just about level with the roll bar. I guess, I don't know, what does that mean for you if you're like 6'7" and you have the roof off and you get in a rollover? I don't know. You have a separate set of window controls here for the rear passengers. Again, in the back you have 2 USB-C ports and 2 USB-A. That's pretty cool. As well as a 115. Oh, yeah, you have an actual plug, like a wall plug, 115 volt, 400 watt. That's pretty cool. I've experimented with those like AutoZone inverters for your car before. They run from the cigarette lighter. They just don't work. They make a lot of noise. So this is pretty cool to have an actual plug that presumably will work. So you have mounting points in the back in both of these main rear seats for a child seat, which, if that's important to you, that's pretty great. You have this rear window. I love having these on top of being able to take the whole roof and all the doors off. You have some increased vent from that. So there you have it. It's the 2023 Jeep Gladiator Rubicon. Let me know what you think in the comments. The temptation, obviously, at the end of the video is to come to some sort of conclusion, sum it all up. Would I buy it? Would I not? But I'm gonna try and steer away from that. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you gained some info from just seeing around the vehicle, and maybe you're a little better educated now to make your own decision. Either way, thank you so much for watching. I've got some more cool videos lined up for the future, so stay tuned. See you next time. So rather than have